So we got a world discoverer with his full hair. So here's the gift shop.
These ones over here.
Loads of birds. Oh, there he is there.
Sometimes that we go again. You don't see the wee monkey.
In large multi-chambered nests under the ground. Their social system is very complex, often considered to be the most complex after humans.
Because these birds have got eyes that are fixed in place. Their eyes essentially are little tubes, unlike ours that are like little balls that can move in and out and help us to judge depth and distance. With these birds, their eyes being tubular only focus at one distance. Now when their eyes only focus at one distance, this meant that the cowboys, when they were out there in the wilds, out in the plains, out in North America, they would see these birds, and these birds would try and work out how far away the cowboys were. So that's when you see these guys nodding and bobbing their head, moving their head around, and the cowboys just thought these birds were saying hello, so they called them howdy birds. Now these birds, unfortunately, have been in decline. They're actually protected in Canada now, but these birds essentially are in decline because people don't like animals digging up their lawn. Now these guys, they don't get persecuted by pest control. In fact, these guys are quite safe from that. But unfortunately, they're pretty terrible at DIY. So when it comes to building their own burrows, what happens there is that these birds essentially will go off and they'll actually take over burrows from other animals. These could be animals such as your your ground squirrels, your prairie dogs, and all of those little animals that essentially build burrows, abandon them, these birds take them over. Now when you're a burrowing owl, like little Sandy here, these guys essentially spend a lot of their time living in groups. Unfortunately, Stanley and his missus Jolene, they got together a bit late in life, so they've gone past that fertility point now, but they are happily living as a little pair with each other. Now in the wild, these birds, if they don't pair up, that doesn't mean that they don't get a group. These guys will actually live in non-related colonies, and the biggest colony of burrowing owls actually had around about 3,000 to 4,000 burrowing owls that all lived together, and this colony stretched over 2.5 square miles apparently, and that's back in the 1700s. Now, unfortunately, though, we are going to say goodbye to Stanley. When we say goodbye to Stanley in a moment, what we will do is we'll tell you a little bit about owls and when to go out looking for them. So if you read your books when you're in nursery and they tell you that your owls are nocturnal, only 25% of owls are truly nocturnal. In fact, birds like him, owls with yellow eyes, are generally active in the day. Owls with black eyes are usually active at night. Owls with orange eyes are the ones that come out at dawn and dusk. Now what we'll do is we'll say goodbye to little Stanley today, and since we're going to say goodbye to him, we'll meet our next bird. Are now 26 years old, so in the grand scheme of things, that's not particularly old for a blue and gold macaw. 60 to 80 in captivity, 35 to 50 out in the wild. So they live longer in captivity, and most birds actually do. And the reason why is because they get fed every day, and we've got vets who know how to fix them when things go wrong. And then you also have got the fact that we don't have predators out here. So these guys, perfectly safe when it comes to coming out here in the arena. Now these two are like toddlers, unfortunately. They've got the same sort of attitude as a toddler as well. And when you can bite it over £1,000 per square inch of jaw pressure, if you have one of these guys as a pet, they can destroy pretty much anything in your house. Now these guys love to have a quick fly around. Apparently only Tocco likes to have a fly around today. Belle will give you a chance to fly in a minute, mate. So in the wild, these birds, then they sometimes get separated, and that's exactly why little Belle just here has given Tocco a nice big call to come back. So when these birds are out flying to get split up, what happens there? We got him this time, Belle, there we go. So when these birds get split up, what happens there is that these birds will stand at the top of the tree screaming and shouting. Now this is often to call their mate and let their mate know exactly where they are, because when these birds go out and they find their mate, don't know where he might have had it, there he is. So when these birds go out and they start screaming and shouting up at the tops of the trees, what happens then is that these birds essentially spend a lot of their time trying to work out how to get back to their mate. So this means flying around the trees, over the trees, unfortunately not through the middle, because they've got a nice big set of wings, so they can't fly through the little gaps. Now with these birds, if they see each other out in the treetops, what these birds often do is they'll often call to each other and then signal each other with their wings. These guys essentially have got bright yellow on the undersides of their wings, and that bright yellow on the underside means that these birds essentially can signal each other with that bright colour. Now these birds, they can actually see in 4 primary spectrums. So 4 primary colours is a bit better than the 3 that we see in. We see in yellow, blue and red. These guys also see in UV. So when these birds are up at the tops of the trees, spreading those great big wings, showing off the bright yellow coloration on the underside, essentially they stand out from the treetops quite well. Now, unfortunately, with these guys, they are going against the trend on animals out in the wild. These guys are increasing their numbers, and what the shame is that lots of parrots are actually decreasing their numbers. The Sphinx macaw was declared extinct the year after Rio, and what's sad about that was actually the bird that Rio was based on. So unfortunately, lots of these birds are suffering from loss of habitat, and people cutting down all the forests and people essentially taking habitat for colonisation. Are you telling everyone how loud you are? 106 decibels that is, so don't talk to me at the end, I won't hear you on this side. So anyway, with these guys, unfortunately, people are cutting down the habitat, and this is stopping these birds from surviving. Your blue and gold macaws are actually starting to become more urbanised, and there's lots of pictures of these birds in places like Rio, out on people's balconies. So let's say goodbye to these guys, and we'll meet our next guys are our nene geese. Now, unfortunately with nene geese, these guys went extinct out in the wild. When they went extinct out in the wild, they were luckily saved by Slimbridge, which is a place down in Gloucester. And at Slimbridge, what happened was people started to breed them from the 30 that were left in captivity. And then they were re-released, and these guys are now a massive conservation success story. Now these guys weren't rare because people had gone out hunting them or lost a habitat. In fact, it's something else. It's the fact that people accidentally introduced rats to the islands of Hawaii. And when they introduced the rats to Hawaii, they wanted to get rid of them. So they introduced the Indian mongoose. Unfortunately, they didn't read the label, because the Indian mongoose come out in the day. Rats come out at night, and essentially they never met each other. So the mongoose ate these guys and loads of other birds. So 12 species of birds went permanently extinct. Now these guys can actually perch, and it's because they've got these long toes, and these long toes that these birds have got help them to clamber over rocks in the lava fields, help them to sit up in the tree branches, and this means that these guys are one of the only perching geese Now, when it comes to flying, unfortunately, Ryan is the only one that can fly out of these two. Goose, she came from another zoo and she's got half a wing amputated to stop her from flying. It's a process called pinioning. Unfortunately, a few zoos still do it. We don't. Ryan was bred here, so Ryan can actually fly. But unfortunately, Ryan, he's a bit on the heavy side at the moment. And why he's a bit on the heavy side, and you may have been to a bird show where people say, all right, my bird's heavy, that's why it's not doing anything. Usually that's not the case. Ryan's too heavy to fly properly at the moment, which is why he's flying with his tail down. If you watch my macaws, they fly nice and straight, which means that their weight's about right. When they start flying with their tail down, they're a little bit too heavy, and what they do is they use that tail to gain extra lift. So they're putting as much effort into up as forward, whereas my macaws just put as much effort into going forward and let their wings do the rest of it. So these guys, unfortunately, like I said, went extinct out in the wild. In captivity though, these guys were bred and then re-released back into the wild from Slimbridge. But because of this, now only 20% of the Nene geese in the wild truly fly. And this has probably got something to do with the old-fashioned practice of clipping and pinioning birds and flight restricting them, so they never taught their babies to fly. Whereas little Ryan here, oh, by the way, Ryan Gosling and Goose Springsteen, I forgot their names. So little Ryan just here, he's been with me since he was a little tiny gosling, so he's always been jumping over logs and rocks, and he's learned to fly from there. Right, it doesn't stop him wanting to do stuff. Right.
Lots of good 10 pizzas.
Yeah.
Forgotten. Thank you.
So it's nice good. Yeah. So it doesn't stop them wanting to do anything. It's just, yeah, some people use it as a little bit too much of an excuse.